Everyone in Seoul knew 3 things about Hyun Seo-jun. 1. He ran an empire from a wheelchair with more power than most men had standing. 2. He was connected to things polite society did not mention out loud. 3. He did not smile. Ever. Not at victories. Not at family dinners. Not in 20 years. His penthouse was museum quiet. His life was perfectly controlled. Then Lydia Desta became his 7th housekeeper in 14 months and committed the ultimate crime. She talked. About everything. About nothing. About the weather, her sister, and why his apartment looked like it was decorated with sadness. He told her to stop. She smiled and kept going. He tried to fire her. Somehow, she stayed. And somewhere between her 3rd week and his grandmother's ultimatum to get married, the impossible started happening. The corners of his mouth began to remember what they were built for. Hyun Seo-jun had not smiled in 20 years, 4 months, and 16 days. Not at board meetings where men twice his age stammered through presentations. Not at family dinners where his grandmother ruled the table like a general. Not even when his company stock hit record highs and Secretary Yang practically bounced into his office with the news. The man simply did not smile. He sat now in his wheelchair behind a black desk that looked like it could survive a bombing, staring at his 7th potential housekeeper's resume. The agency had stopped sending people. 6 women in 14 months had quit, and the reviews they left were almost identical. Too quiet. Too cold. Too much like working in a tomb. Secretary Yang cleared his throat. "Sir, the candidate is here. Miss Lydia Desta. She's from Ethiopia. Her Korean is decent. References are clean. Send her in." The door opened. Lydia Desta walked into Hyun Seo-jun's office, wearing a black skirt, white blouse, and the kind of smile that made the room feel smaller. She had her hair pulled back, simple earrings, and she was looking directly at him. Not at the wheelchair, not at the view behind him, at him. "Good morning," she said, her accent wrapped around the Korean words like she was still getting used to their shape. "I'm Lydia. You're Mr. Hyun. This building is really tall. I counted 47 floors on the way up, but the elevator buttons only go to 45, so I'm not sure what happened to the other 2. "Are they secret?" Secretary Yang made a choking sound. Seo-jun stared at her. Nobody asked him about the private floors. Nobody asked him anything that wasn't carefully rehearsed. "Sit," he said. She sat, folded her hands, kept smiling. "The position requires discretion," he began. "I'm very discreet. Silence during working hours. I can be quiet. No personal phone calls in shared spaces. That's reasonable. No rearranging furniture or decor without explicit permission." Lydia tilted her head. "Is that because you like things a certain way? Or because you don't like change?" The room went so quiet you could hear the air conditioning hum. Secretary Yang looked like he wanted to climb out the window. Seo-jun leaned forward slightly. His voice dropped. "Miss Desta, do you want this job?" "Yes." "Then why are you asking questions that have nothing to do with cleaning?" "Because I'm going to be in your space every day, and I'd like to know if you're particular because of preference or because of control. It helps me do my job better. Honest, direct, completely unafraid." Seo-jun had people investigated for less bold behavior. He had ended business partnerships over a misplaced word. But this woman sat across from him like they were discussing the weather. "You start tomorrow," he said, 6 in the morning. Secretary Yang will provide you with the entry codes and rules. Break any of them, and you're dismissed immediately. Understood?" "Understood." She stood, bowed politely, then paused at the door. "Also, the plant on your desk is dying. It needs less light and more water, just so you know." She left. Secretary Yang waited exactly 10 seconds. "Sir, should I call the next candidate?" No, she'll do. But she just, I know what she did. Seo-jun turned his chair toward the window. She's either brave or stupid. Either way, she won't be boring. The next morning, Lydia arrived at 5:53. She met Secretary Yang in the lobby, received a tablet with 72 rules, 11 emergency contacts, and a floor plan of the penthouse that looked more complicated than it needed to be. Mr. Hyun is very private, Secretary Yang explained, as they rode the elevator up. He doesn't like small talk. He doesn't like noise. He especially doesn't like people hovering. Got it. Private. Quiet. No hovering. The previous housekeepers, they found it difficult. He's not unkind. But he's cold? Secretary Yang winced. Focused. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. Lydia stepped out and tried not to react. She had cleaned houses before, nice ones. But this was different. Everything was gray, or black, or white. The furniture looked expensive and uncomfortable. There were no pictures on the walls. No plants except the dying one from yesterday. The whole place felt like a very elegant waiting room. He's in his office, Secretary Yang whispered. Don't disturb him before 9 unless it's an emergency. The kitchen is stocked. He takes coffee at 7, black, no sugar. Meals are in the binder on the counter. Any questions? Does he eat breakfast? He works through breakfast. That's not what I asked. Secretary Yang blinked. I'll leave you to it. He left. Lydia stood in the massive, silent penthouse and made a decision. She pulled out her phone, set a timer, and got to work. By 7, she had cleaned the kitchen, dusted the living room, and started a pot of coffee that filled the space with something that actually smelled like life. She poured a cup, black, no sugar, and walked to the office. The door was half open. Seo-jun sat at his desk, eyes on 3 monitors, fingers moving across a keyboard. He was dressed in all black. His hair was perfect. His expression was carved from stone. Lydia knocked on the doorframe. He didn't look up. Leave it on the table. She set the coffee down, turned to go, stopped. The sun is really nice this morning, she said. His fingers paused on the keyboard. Excuse me? The sun. It's coming through the east windows. Very orange. Thought you should know. Why? Because you've been staring at screens, and sometimes it's nice to look at something else. Now he did look up. His eyes were dark, unreadable. Are you always this talkative? Usually more, actually. I'm being professional right now. This is you being professional. I haven't even told you about the traffic on the way here. The corner of his mouth didn't move, but something in his eyes shifted. Don't. Very rude drivers. I saw a guy make a turn that I'm pretty sure broke physics. Miss Desta. Yes? Stop talking. Okay. She smiled. Enjoy your coffee. She left. Seo-jun stared at the place she'd been standing, then at the coffee, then at the orange sunlight coming through the east windows. He had not noticed the sun in 6 years. He drank the coffee. It was perfect. By the end of week 1, Lydia had learned 3 important things about Hyun Seo-jun. 1, he worked 16-hour days and pretended he didn't need sleep. 2, people were afraid of him, the kind of afraid that made delivery workers leave packages by the elevator instead of knocking. 3, he noticed everything. She rearranged a single book, and he mentioned it the next day. She used a different soap, and he asked if the supplier had changed. He didn't miss anything. So she started testing it. On day 8, she moved his coffee cup 3 inches to the left. Why is my cup moved? He asked that evening. The steam was hitting your mouse pad. I shifted it. Day 9, she played music while cleaning. Soft, instrumental, barely audible. He appeared in the hallway. What is that? Music. It's from back home. Do you want me to turn it off? He listened for 5 seconds. Keep it low. Day 10, she cooked lunch, way too much, and left half of it covered on the counter. At 3 in the afternoon, she came back from cleaning the guest rooms and found the plate empty in the sink. She grinned. "Hey, if you're enjoying this story so far, do me a quick favor. Tap that like button. It actually helps more than you think. And stick around, because what happens next is going to surprise you." On day 14, Secretary Yang pulled her aside during a supply delivery. "You're lasting longer than the others," he said quietly. "Is that unusual?" The last woman quit on day 4. Said she felt like she was working for a ghost. He glanced toward the office. "Mr. Hyun, he's not always been like this." Lydia kept, her voice casual. "Like what?" "So closed off. There was an accident years ago. He doesn't talk about it. Doesn't like people asking." I wasn't going to ask. Good, because the last person who did got fired on the spot. Lydia nodded, but her mind was working. She had noticed things. The way Seo-jun gripped the wheels of his chair when he was frustrated. The locked drawer in his desk that sometimes clicked open late at night. The phone calls he took in English, low and clipped, that made the air feel heavy afterwards. This man was not just rich and cold. He was buried under something. That night, she was cleaning the hallway when she heard a sound from the office. A sharp intake of breath, tight and controlled. She should have walked away. Rule number 34. Do not disturb Mr. Hyun during private matters. She walked toward the office instead. The door was cracked open. Inside, Seo-jun sat with his back to her, one hand gripping the arm of his wheelchair, the other pressed against his leg. His shoulders were tense. Lydia knocked softly. "Do you need anything?" "No." His voice was strained. "Are you sure?" "Leave." She should have listened. Instead, she pushed the door open a little more. "If you're in pain, I can." I said, "Leave." He didn't turn around, but his tone could have frozen water. Lydia hesitated, then stepped back. "Okay, I'm going. But there's tea in the kitchen if you want it. The kind that helps with tension." She left before he could respond. The next morning, the tea was gone. Week 3 started with rain, the kind of heavy gray rain that made Seoul look like a painting. Lydia arrived early, shook out her umbrella, and found Seo-jun already awake, sitting by the window. He wasn't working. He was just sitting, staring out at the rain. "Morning," she said carefully. He didn't respond. She made coffee, brought it to him, and set it down without a word. As she turned to go, he spoke. "Do you like the rain?" She stopped. He had never asked her a personal question. "Yes, it's nice." "Why?" "Because it makes everything slow down. People can't rush in the rain. They have to just be." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "That's a good reason." It was the longest conversation they'd had. That afternoon, a woman arrived at the penthouse unannounced. She was older, 60s maybe, dressed in a way that made even the expensive furniture look cheap. She walked in like she owned the place. Lydia was in the kitchen. The woman spotted her immediately. "Who are you?" the woman asked. Not rude, just direct. "I'm Lydia. I work here. Can I help you?" "I'm Madam Hyun, Seo-jun's grandmother." She studied Lydia with sharp eyes. "You're new." 3 weeks. "You're lasting longer than the others?" "So I've heard." Madam Hyun smiled slightly. "Make me tea. Not the expensive kind. The kind people actually drink." Lydia blinked. "Okay." She made barley tea, the kind she'd brought from the Korean market near her apartment, because it reminded her of a drink from home. She poured 2 cups and set one in front of Madam Hyun. The older woman took a sip, nodded. "Good. Sit." "I should." "Sit." Lydia sat. "You're from Ethiopia," Madam Hyun said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, ma'am. What brought you to Seoul?" "Work." My sister wants to study here. I'm saving to bring her over. And you took a job cleaning houses. It pays well. Better than what I'd make back home. Do you find my grandson difficult? Lydia chose her words carefully. I find him private. That's diplomatic. Madame Hyan's eyes glinted. He's been private for a long time. Too long. This house is too quiet. I've noticed. Have you also noticed he comes out of his office more than he used to? Lydia paused. Does he? Secretary Yang reports to me. He says Seo Jun has been taking lunch, drinking tea in the evenings. Small things. She leaned forward. What are you doing differently? I'm just doing my job. No, you're doing something else. Madame Hyan stood. Keep doing it. She left before Lydia could ask what she meant. That evening, Seo Jun called Lydia into his office. She went, confused, and found him holding a small box. My grandmother was here, he said. Yes, she's nice. She likes you. Is that bad? It's unusual. She doesn't like most people. He slid the box across the desk. She left this, said to give it to you. Lydia opened it. Inside was a simple bracelet, silver, delicate. I can't accept this, she said immediately. You don't have a choice. When my grandmother gives a gift, you take it. He paused. What did you two talk about? Tea. My sister. Nothing important. She doesn't do nothing important. Lydia looked at him, really looked. He seemed tired, not physically, but in a deeper way. Are you worried about something? No. You're a bad liar. His eyes snapped to hers. Excuse me? You do this thing with your jaw when you lie. It tightens. She mimicked it without thinking. For 3 full seconds, Hyan Seo Jun just stared at her. Then he said, very quietly, Get out. Was it something Out. She left, heart pounding. The next morning, there was a note on the kitchen counter in sharp, clean handwriting. You're right. I do that with my jaw. Lydia smiled for the rest of the day. Week 4 brought a shift. Seo Jun started appearing in shared spaces more often. He'd work at the dining table instead of his office. He'd take calls in the living room. Small things, but noticeable. And he started asking questions. Where in Ethiopia are you from? How old is your sister? Why Seoul and not another city? Lydia answered honestly, and in return, he started offering small pieces of himself, his favorite food. The fact that he hated mornings, that he'd studied in the US for 2 years before the accident. He never mentioned what the accident was. She never asked. But one evening, while she was cooking dinner, he rolled into the kitchen and watched her work. You don't have to cook for me, he said. I know. But I'm cooking anyway, and it's easier to make extra. The contract says meals prepared, not shared. Are you telling me to stop? He hesitated. No. Then I'll keep doing it. She set a plate in front of him. He stared at it. This is Ethiopian, he said. Yes. Doro wat. It's chicken stew, very common back home. You didn't make Korean food. You've had Korean food your whole life. Thought you might want something different. He picked up a fork, tried it, and went very still. Is it bad? Lydia asked, suddenly nervous. No. He took another bite. It's good. Really good. She beamed. My mom's recipe. I'll make injera next time. It's a bread. You eat it with. I know what injera is. Oh, have you had it? Once, years ago. Business trip to Addis Ababa. He glanced up at her. I didn't think I'd taste it again. Something in his voice made her chest tighten. Well, now you can have it whenever you want. He didn't respond, but he finished every bite. That night, Lydia called her sister. How's the job? Hana asked, bright and excited. It's good. Different. Different how? My boss is complicated. Complicated bad or complicated interesting? Lydia thought about Seo Jun eating her mother's recipe in silence. about the way he listened when she talked, about the fact that he hadn't smiled once, but sometimes she caught him looking almost peaceful. "Interesting," she said finally. "Ooh, is he cute?" "Hana, I'm just asking. Focus on your entrance exams." "I am. I got my scores back, by the way. High enough for Seoul National University." Lydia's heart jumped. "Hana, that's incredible." "I know. Which means I need to apply soon. Which means, I know. I'm working on it." She glanced toward the office, where light still glowed under the door. "I'll have enough. I promise." After she hung up, she sat in her small room off the kitchen and did the math again. 6 more months. Maybe 8. Then she could bring Hana over, pay the tuition, and they'd be together. She could do this. She had to. The next day, Madame Hyun returned. This time, she didn't come alone. Lydia opened the door to find her standing with 2 other women, both younger, both dressed like they were attending a business meeting. "Is my grandson here?" Madame Hyun asked. "He's in a conference call." "Good. We'll wait." They swept in. Lydia made tea, because apparently that was her role now, and tried not to eavesdrop. She failed. "You can't be serious," one of the women was saying. "A marriage clause? At his age?" "The board is concerned," Madame Hyun replied calmly. "Seo Jun is brilliant, but he's isolated. They want stability, a family image. So you're forcing him to marry. I'm giving him options. He can choose someone suitable, or I'll choose for him." The other woman laughed. "He'll never agree." "He will, because he knows what's at stake." Lydia's hand stilled on the teapot. "Marriage clause? What?" Before she could process it, Seo Jun's office door opened. He came out, saw the gathering, and his entire demeanor shifted. Colder, sharper. "Grandmother, what is this?" "A conversation." "Sit. I'm working." "You're always working. Sit." He sat. Madame Hyun gestured to the 2 women. "You remember Miss Park and Miss Choi, both from good families, both interested." Seo Jun's jaw did the thing Lydia had mentioned. "You're not serious." "I'm completely serious. The board votes in 6 months. You need a wife before then, or they'll vote to restructure your position." "Let them vote." "Seo Jun, I'm not marrying someone because of a board's opinion." "Then you'll lose the company your father built." The room went dead silent. Seo Jun's face was a mask. "You would let that happen?" "I would let you make your own choices, but I will not let you self-destruct out of pride." Madame Hyun stood. 6 months. Find someone or I'll arrange it myself." She left. The 2 women followed, both glancing back at Seo Jun with expressions Lydia couldn't read. When the door closed, Seo Jun sat motionless. Lydia should have stayed quiet, should have gone back to work. Instead, she said, "That was intense." His head snapped toward her. "How much did you hear?" "Enough." And it sounds like your grandmother is very determined. She's manipulative. She's worried. You don't know her?" "I know she came here twice in 4 weeks. That's not manipulation. That's care." He stared at her. "You have an opinion on everything." "Usually, yes. It's exhausting. So I've been told." She picked up the tea tray. "For what it's worth, marrying someone you don't know sounds terrible. I hope you find a better option." She left him sitting there. What she didn't see was the way he watched her go, something shifting in his expression. What she didn't know was that she'd just given him an idea. A terrible, brilliant, completely insane idea. 3 days after Madame Hyun's ultimatum, Seo Jun worked until 2 in the morning, slept for 3 hours, and made a decision that would have seemed impossible 6 weeks ago. He was going to ask his housekeeper to marry him, not romantically, not emotionally, contractually. It made perfect sense in the coldest, most logical way. Lydia needed money for her sister. He needed a wife in name only. She was already living in his space, already knew his routines, and most importantly, she didn't look at him with pity or fear or calculation. She just looked at him like he was a person who happened to be in a wheelchair. That alone made her better than every option his grandmother had paraded through. He spent the morning working out terms, compensation, timeline, expectations. By noon, he had a contract drafted. By evening, his nerves, something he hadn't felt in years, were trying to surface. He ignored them. At 8, he called Lydia into his office. She arrived in casual clothes, her shift technically over, looking curious. "Is everything okay?" "Sit." She sat, folded her hands, waited. Seo Jun realized he had no idea how to start this conversation. "You heard what my grandmother said," he began. "About the marriage thing?" "Yes. I have 6 months to find a wife or lose my position as CEO. That seems extreme. It's business. Image matters." He paused. "I've considered the options she provided. I'm not interested in any of them." "Okay. So I'm proposing an alternative." Lydia tilted her head. "What kind of alternative?" He slid a folder across the desk. "A contract marriage. 1 year. You'd live here, attend events as needed, and present as my wife publicly. In exchange, you'd receive a sum large enough to bring your sister to Seoul, cover her university tuition, and leave with significant savings." Silence. Lydia opened the folder. Her eyes scanned the first page, then the second. Her expression didn't change, but her hand stilled. "You want to hire me as your wife?" she said slowly. "Yes." "Like a job. Exactly like a job. Seo Jun, this is beneficial for both of us. You need money. I need a solution. This provides both." She looked up at him. "This is completely unhinged. Is that a no?" "I didn't say that." She flipped another page. "Separate rooms. Separate wings, if you prefer. No physical expectations?" His face remained neutral, but his voice was firm. "None. This is a professional arrangement. What about your family? Your grandmother? They'll believe what we show them. And when the year ends, we divorce quietly. You leave with the money, I keep my position. Clean ending." Lydia sat back. Her fingers drummed on the folder. "Let me see if I understand. You want me to pretend to be your wife for a year. Lie to everyone, including your grandmother, and then just walk away like it never happened. Yes, that's your plan. It's a good plan. It's insane. You said that already." She laughed. Actually laughed. The sound filled the quiet office like something foreign. "You really don't see how weird this is?" "I see exactly how weird it is. I also see that it solves both our problems." "What if I say no?" "Then I'll find another option, and you'll continue working here until you've saved enough, which, based on your current salary, will take approximately 3 years. Lydia's expression shifted. He'd done the math, and she knew it. "Can I think about it?" she asked. "You have 24 hours. She stood, folder in hand. "Okay. I'll give you an answer tomorrow." She made it to the door before he spoke again. "Lydia." She turned. "I know it's strange," he said quietly, "but I wouldn't ask if I didn't think you could handle it." Something in her eyes softened. "I'll think about it." That night, Lydia sat in her small room and read the contract 4 times. The money was real, enough to change Hana's entire life, enough to give her sister opportunities they'd only dreamed about. But marrying her boss? Even fake marrying him? She called Hana. "Hey," her sister answered. "What's wrong?" "Why do you think something's wrong?" "Because you never call this late." Spill. Lydia took a breath. If someone offered you a lot of money to do something weird but not dangerous, would you do it? How weird. Like, pretend to be married. Weird. Silence. Then Hana said very carefully, Is your boss asking you to fake marry him? How did you? Lydia, I watch dramas. This is literally a drama plot. Oh my God, is he asking you? Maybe. Hannah screamed. Actual screaming. Stop, Lydia hissed. This is serious. This is amazing. What did you say? I haven't answered yet. What's the problem? Is he terrible? No, he's complicated. But not terrible. Is he paying you enough to get me to Seoul? Lydia looked at the contract. Yes, and then some. Then what are you waiting for? Say yes. Hannah, it's not that simple. Why not? It's a job, a weird job, but still a job. And if it gets me to university and gets you financial security, what's the problem? Lydia didn't have a good answer. After they hung up, she sat with the contract and realized her sister was right. This was weird. Completely, totally weird. But it was also an opportunity. The next evening, she found Seo-jun in his usual spot, working late. I have an answer, she said. He looked up. His expression was controlled, but she'd learned to read the small signs, the slight tension in his shoulders, the way his fingers stilled on the keyboard. He was nervous. And, he asked, I have conditions. Name them. 1. We tell no one it's fake. Not your grandmother, not Secretary Yang, no one. If we're doing this, we commit. Agreed. 2. You treat me like a person, not an employee. I'm not going to be ordered around. I can do that. 3. If at any point this gets dangerous, emotionally or otherwise, we renegotiate. He nodded slowly. Fair. And 4. She met his eyes. When this is over, we walk away clean. No drama. No mess. That's the plan. She took a breath. Okay. Okay? Yes. I'll do it. For the first time since she'd met him, Hyun Seo-jun looked genuinely surprised. You're agreeing? Don't make me change my mind. The corner of his mouth almost moved. Almost. When can you start? Start what? Being my fiancé. We'll need to make it public soon. How soon? This week. Lydia's eyes widened. That's very fast. My grandmother doesn't wait. The faster we move, the less suspicious it looks. Okay. So what? We just announced we're engaged? We have dinner with my grandmother first. Let her think she influenced the decision. You want to manipulate your grandmother? I want to manage her expectations. There's a difference. Lydia shook her head. You're unbelievable. Is that a compliment? I haven't decided yet. This time, his mouth definitely moved. Not a smile. But something close. If you are still watching, I need you to do something for me real quick. Drop a comment and tell me what you think Seo-jun's grandmother is going to say when she finds out. I read every single one. The dinner was planned for Saturday. Madam Hyun's estate in the hills. Formal dress required. Lydia spent 3 days panicking. I don't have formal clothes, she told Seo-jun on Wednesday. I'll have something sent. I don't know how to act around rich people. You've been around me for 6 weeks. You're different. How? I don't know. You're weird rich. They're intimidating rich. He almost smiled again. Just be yourself. Myself got kicked out of a nice restaurant once for asking too many questions about the menu. Then ask fewer questions. That's terrible advice. Thursday, a dress arrived. Black, simple, elegant. It fit perfectly. Friday, Secretary Yang gave her a briefing on family members. Names, positions, who to avoid, who to charm. Mrs. Hyun's younger brother will be there, he said. He's going to ask invasive questions. Just smile and deflect. Deflect how? Say something vague and change the subject. I'm bad at vague. Then say something charming. I'm better at that. Saturday arrived. Seo-jun's driver picked them up at 5. Lydia wore the black dress. Seo-jun wore a dark suit. They looked like they were attending a funeral. Nervous? He asked as the car wound through the hills. Terrified. Don't be. You've already met her. She likes you. She liked me as the housekeeper, not as the fake fiancé. She doesn't know it's fake. That makes it worse. He glanced at her. You can still back out. And lose the opportunity to see you squirm through a family dinner? Never. He actually huffed, almost like a laugh. I don't squirm. Everyone squirms around family. I don't. 20 minutes later, they arrived. The estate was huge, not modern like Seo Jun's penthouse. Old, traditional, the kind of place that had history in the walls. Madame Hyun met them at the entrance. She looked at Lydia, then at Seo Jun, then back at Lydia. "You're wearing the bracelet I gave you," she said. Lydia touched her wrist. "Yes, ma'am. It's beautiful." "It was my mother's." Madame Hyun's eyes glinted. "I only give it to people I trust. I'll take good care of it. I know you will." She turned to Seo Jun. "You're late. Traffic. You're always late. Come, everyone's waiting." They followed her inside. The dining room held 8 people. Seo Jun's uncle, a man with sharp eyes and sharper questions. 2 cousins, both watching Lydia like she was a puzzle. An aunt who smiled but didn't mean it. And a few others Lydia couldn't remember from Secretary Yang's briefing. She was introduced as Seo Jun's girlfriend. The room went silent. "Girlfriend," the uncle said. "Since when?" "Recently," Seo Jun replied calmly. "How recently? Does it matter?" "It matters when you've been famously single for a decade and suddenly appear with me," Lydia finished. She smiled brightly. "I know, it's surprising. I was surprised too." The aunt leaned forward. "How did you meet?" "I worked for him." "Worked?" "I was his housekeeper." You could have heard a pin drop. The uncle's face went through several expressions. "You're dating the help?" "I'm dating Lydia," Seo Jun said. His voice was ice. "Her previous job title is irrelevant." "Grandmother," the uncle turned to Madame Hyun. "You can't possibly approve of this." Madame Hyun sipped her tea. "Why wouldn't I?" "Because she's foreign? Educated? Charming?" Madame Hyun set down her cup. "All qualities I appreciate." Lydia tried not to gape. Dinner was served. It was the longest meal of Lydia's life. Questions came from every direction. "Where are you from? How long have you been in Seoul? What do your parents do? Do you speak Korean well? What are your intentions?" She answered honestly when she could, and vaguely when she couldn't. Seo Jun stayed beside her, a quiet, steady presence. At one point, his cousin, a man named Min Jae, leaned over. "You've got everyone talking. That's impressive. Is that good or bad? Depends on what you want." "I want to eat dinner without feeling like I'm being interviewed," Min Jae laughed. "Good luck with that." After dinner, Madame Hyun pulled Lydia aside. They stood in a hallway lined with family portraits. Seo Jun's father, his grandfather, generations of Hyun power. "You handled yourself well," Madame Hyun said. "Thank you." "My grandson is not an easy man. I've noticed. He's been alone a long time, by choice. I know. Do you know why?" Lydia hesitated. "Not entirely." Madame Hyun studied her. "When he was 23, there was a car accident. He was driving. His best friend was in the passenger seat." She paused. The friend didn't survive. Seo Jun lost the use of his legs and the ability to forgive himself. Lydia's chest tightened. "He's been punishing himself ever since," Madame Hyun continued, "keeping everyone at a distance, working himself into the ground. I've watched him disappear into that penthouse, and I couldn't reach him." She looked directly at Lydia. "But you did." "I didn't do anything." "You made him come out of his office. You made him eat meals. You made him notice the sun." Madame Hyun's voice softened. "That's not nothing." Lydia didn't know what to say. "Whatever is between you two," Madame Hyun said, "real or complicated, or somewhere in between, Don't let him retreat again. Promise me that." "I promise." They returned to the dining room. Seo-jun was waiting by the door, his expression unreadable. On the drive home, he was quiet. "Your grandmother told me about the accident," Lydia said gently. His hands tightened on the armrest. "Did she?" "I'm sorry. That must have been horrible." "It was a long time ago." "Doesn't make it less horrible." He turned to look out the window. "I don't talk about it." "Okay. Most people push. Try to get me to open up. I'm not most people." He glanced at her. Something in his face shifted. "No, you're not." They rode the rest of the way in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. The engagement was announced 3 days later. Secretary Yang handled the press release. Simple, clean. Hyun Seo-jun, CEO of Hyun Group, is engaged to Lydia Desta. Private ceremony planned. The response was immediate. News outlets picked it up. Social media exploded. Half the comments were supportive. The other half were vicious. Gold digger. Foreigner. What does she want from him? Lydia made the mistake of reading them once. She didn't do it again. Seo-jun found her in the kitchen that evening, staring at her phone. "Stop reading," he said. "I'm not." "You are. Your face does this thing when you're upset." "What thing?" "Your eyebrows scrunch together." She touched her forehead. "They do not." "They do." She set the phone down. "People are mean." "People are always mean. Ignore them." Easy for you to say. It's not easy, but it's necessary. He rolled closer. "This is going to get worse before it gets better. If you can't handle it, tell me now." "I can handle it." "Are you sure?" She met his eyes. "Yes." He nodded. "Good. Because tomorrow, we're doing our first public appearance." Her stomach dropped. "Where?" "Charity gala. Very public. Very visible." "I don't know how to gala." "You'll be fine." "Seo-jun, just stay close to me. I'll handle the rest." The gala was everything Lydia feared. Hundreds of people in formal wear. Cameras everywhere. Whispers following them like a shadow. She wore a deep blue dress that Secretary Yang had sent over. Seo-jun wore black again. They arrived together. The moment they entered, conversation stopped. Lydia felt every eye on them. Seo-jun's hand found hers. "Breathe." "I'm breathing." "Good. Keep doing that." They made their way through the room. People approached. Introductions were made. Lydia smiled until her face hurt. And then Lim Tae-woong appeared. He was tall, polished, and his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Seo-jun," he said smoothly. "I heard the news. Congratulations." Tae-woong. Seo-jun's voice was flat. And this must be the lucky woman. Tae-woong turned to Lydia. "Lydia, right? From Ethiopia?" "Yes." "How exotic. Tell me, how does one go from housekeeping to engagement? That's quite the promotion." The insult was wrapped in politeness, but it landed like a slap. Lydia kept smiling. "Well, I'm very good at cleaning. Turns out that includes cleaning up misconceptions." Tae-woong's smile faltered. Seo-jun's hand tightened on hers. "If you'll excuse us," Seo-jun said coldly. "We have people to see." They moved away. "I don't like him," Dia muttered. "No one does." "Why is he here?" "Because he's a rival, and he's trying to undermine me publicly." "Is it working?" "Not even close." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. By the time they left, Lydia's feet ached and her head pounded. In the car, she slumped against the seat. "You did well," Seo-jun said. "I wanted to punch that Tae-woong guy." "So did I." "Really?" "He's been a problem for years." "What kind of problem?" Seo-jun hesitated. "The kind that uses every weakness he can find. My disability. Now you." "I'm not a weakness." He looked at her. "I know." Something passed between them. Quiet. Significant. Lydia broke the moment. So what now? Now, we go home. Rest. Prepare for the next event. How many events are there? Enough. She groaned. He almost smiled. The next morning, Lydia woke to her phone ringing. It was Hannah. I saw the pictures, her sister said immediately. You looked amazing. Also, your fake husband is very handsome. You didn't mention that. It's not relevant. It's very relevant. Have you seen his face? Hannah, I'm just saying, if you have to fake marry someone, you did well. Lydia laughed, despite herself. How are your applications going? Good. I should hear back in a few weeks. Hannah paused. Lydia, are you okay? Really okay? Yes, I promise. Because this whole thing is insane. I know. But if it works, it'll work. After they hung up, Lydia sat in her room and let herself feel the weight of it all. The lies, the performance, the fact that she was living in a penthouse with a man who barely smiled and yet somehow made her feel safer than anywhere else. This was temporary, she reminded herself. 1 year. She could do 1 year. What she didn't expect was how quickly the lines would start to blur. 2 months into the arrangement, Lydia's sister arrived in Seoul. Hannah came through the airport gates with 2 massive suitcases, a backpack that looked like it might contain her entire childhood, and a smile that could light up the whole terminal. Lydia saw her and burst into tears. They hadn't seen each other in person for 2 years. Video calls were not the same, not even close. Stop crying, Hannah laughed, hugging her tight. You're embarrassing me. I don't care. I missed you. I missed you too. They pulled apart. Hannah looked around. So where's your super serious fake husband? He's not here. He's working. Of course he is. Hannah grinned. Let's go see this fancy place you're living in. The drive to the penthouse took 40 minutes. Hannah spent the entire time asking questions. About Seoul, about the job, about Seo-jun. Is he nice? She asked. He's complicated. You keep saying that. What does it mean? It means he's not warm and fuzzy, but he's not cruel either. He's just different. Different good or different weird. Both. When they arrived, Seo-jun was in his office. Lydia knocked lightly. Come in. She opened the door. My sister's here. I wanted to introduce you. He looked up. Now? If that's okay. He glanced at the screen, then back at her. Give me 5 minutes. Thank you. She went back to the living room, where Hannah was staring at everything like she'd walked into a museum. This place is unreal, Hannah whispered. How do you live here and not feel like you're going to break something? Very carefully. 5 minutes later, Seo-jun emerged from his office. Hannah straightened immediately. Lydia made the introductions. Seo-jun, this is my sister Hannah. Hannah, this is Hyun Seo-jun. Hi, Hannah said brightly. Thank you for letting me stay here. I promise I won't be a bother. Seo-jun studied her for a moment. You're starting at Seoul National University? Yes, if I pass the final interview. You'll pass. How do you know? Your sister talks about you constantly. You're clearly brilliant. Hannah beamed. Lydia tried not to look shocked. Seo-jun rarely gave compliments. Do you need help getting settled? He asked. Oh, no, I can. Lydia will show you to your room. If you need anything, let her know. He nodded politely and returned to his office. Hannah waited exactly 3 seconds. Okay, he's hot and nice. What's the catch? Hannah, I'm serious. You said he was cold. He is cold. That was, I don't know. That was him being polite. If that's him being polite, I want to see him being warm. Lydia rolled her eyes. Come on. Let me show you your room. The room was in the guest wing. Clean, spacious, better than anywhere Hannah had ever stayed. She dropped her bags and flopped onto the bed. I can't believe this is real. Believe it. How long do I get to stay? As long as you need. Hannah sat up. Lydia, seriously, thank you. For everything. I know this whole fake marriage thing is weird, but it's worth it. You're worth it." They hugged again. Over the next few days, Hana settled in. She explored the neighborhood, studied for her interview, and despite Lydia's warnings, she started talking to Seo-jun. A lot. Lydia came home one afternoon to find them in the living room. Hana was sitting on the couch, Seo-jun in his wheelchair nearby, and they were talking. Actually talking. "Wait, so you studied in Boston?" Hana was saying. "For 2 years. Did you like it? It was different. Different good or different bad? Different cold. I wasn't used to snow." Hana laughed. "I want to see snow. Real snow. Not pictures." "You'll see plenty this winter." Lydia cleared her throat. They both looked up. "Hey," Hana said. "Seo-jun was telling me about Boston." "I heard. Did you know he almost got kicked out of a library once for arguing about a book?" Lydia blinked. "What?" Seo-jun's face remained neutral, but there was something in his eyes. "It was a misunderstanding. He argued with a librarian about translation accuracy," Hana continued, delighted, "for 30 minutes. She was wrong," Seo-jun said simply. Lydia tried not to smile. Of course she was. Later, when Hana was in her room, Lydia found Seo-jun on the balcony. "You're good with her," she said. "She's easy to talk to. You don't talk to anyone. I talk to you. That's different." "How?" Lydia paused. "I don't know. It just is." He looked at her. The city lights reflected in his eyes. "She reminds me of my younger cousin, before everything got complicated." "You miss that." "I miss a lot of things." It was the most honest thing he'd ever said to her. "For what it's worth," Lydia said softly, "I think you're a good person." "You don't know me well enough to say that. I know you let my sister stay here. I know you talked to her about libraries and snow. I know you're not as cold as you pretend to be." He didn't respond, but he didn't look away either. The moment stretched. Then his phone rang. He glanced at it. His expression shifted. "I need to take this." "Okay." He left. Lydia stayed on the balcony and wondered when exactly she'd started noticing the way he looked at her. The final interview for Hana's university placement came a week later. She was a nervous wreck. "What if I mess up?" she asked at breakfast. "You won't," Lydia said. "What if they ask something I don't know?" "Then you say you don't know and explain how you'd find the answer." "What if?" "Hana." Seo-jun set down his coffee. "You're prepared, you're intelligent, and you're overthinking. But, no buts. You'll do fine." Hana stared at him. "You really think so?" "I don't say things I don't mean." She relaxed. Okay. I can do this." After she left, Lydia turned to Seo-jun. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being kind to her." "I'm not being kind. I'm being honest." "Still, it means a lot." He nodded, went back to his coffee. But Lydia saw the way his shoulders had loosened, the way he'd looked at Hana like she mattered. He was changing, slowly, quietly, and so was she. That afternoon, Secretary Yang called Lydia into Seo-jun's office. "There's a situation," he said. Lydia's stomach dropped. "What kind of situation?" Seo-jun leaned back in his wheelchair. "Lim Tae-woong is making moves. He's been talking to board members, spreading rumors." "What kind of rumors?" "That our engagement is fake, that you're being paid." Her heart stopped. "How does he know?" "He doesn't. He's guessing. But he's loud, and people listen." "What do we do?" "We prove him wrong." Seo-jun's voice was steady. "There's an interview scheduled, a major network. They want to talk about us, about the engagement, about how we met. And you think that'll stop him?" "I think it'll make him look desperate." Lydia took a breath. "Okay. When?" "This week." "That's fast." "It has to be." She nodded. "Then let's do it." The interview was set for Thursday, a lifestyle show. Soft lighting, comfortable chairs. The host was a woman in her 50s, with a warm smile and sharp eyes. Lydia wore a cream-colored dress. Seo Jun wore his usual dark suit. They sat side by side. The cameras rolled. "So," the host began, "you two have become quite the topic of conversation." Seo Jun nodded. "So I've heard. How did you meet?" "Lydia worked for me," he said calmly. "She was my housekeeper." "And that turned into romance?" Lydia smiled. "Not immediately. He was very professional at first." "Very cold, you mean," the host teased. "I didn't say that. But you thought it." "Maybe a little." The audience laughed. The host turned to Seo Jun. "What changed?" He paused, looked at Lydia. "She did." "How so?" "She didn't treat me differently. Most people see the wheelchair or the name or the reputation. She just saw me." It wasn't in the script. He'd gone off book. Lydia's heart did something complicated. "And you?" the host asked Lydia. "When did you know?" "Know what?" "That you loved him." The room went quiet. Lydia's mind raced. This wasn't part of the plan. They'd rehearsed answers, safe answers. But the host was waiting. The cameras were rolling. She looked at Seo Jun. His face was unreadable, but his eyes were asking her to trust him. "I don't think it was one moment," she said slowly. "I think it was a lot of small things. The way he listened when I talked. The way he remembered details I didn't think mattered. The way he made space for my sister without hesitation." She paused. "He acts like he's made of ice, but he's not. He's just careful. And I don't blame him for that." The host smiled. "That's beautiful." The rest of the interview passed in a blur. When it was over, they left through a side exit. The car was waiting. Inside, Lydia let out a breath. "That was intense. You did well. I went off script." "So did I." She looked at him. "Did you mean it? What you said about me seeing you?" He met her eyes. "Yes." "Oh." They rode in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy with things neither of them knew how to say. The interview aired 2 days later. It went viral, not for scandal, for sweetness. Clips circulated. Comments poured in. The narrative shifted. Suddenly, they weren't a CEO and his housekeeper. They were a love story. Lim Tae-woong's rumors lost traction. Madame Hyun called that evening. "I watched the interview," she said. Lydia braced herself. "And?" "And you two are either very good actors, or something real is happening." Don't lie to me, child. I've lived too long to be fooled." But her voice was warm. "Whatever this is, I approve." After she hung up, Lydia found Seo Jun in his office. "Your grandmother called." "I know. She called me, too." "What did she say?" "That she's pleased." He looked up. "And that she expects a real wedding within the year." Lydia's eyes widened. "What did you tell her?" "That we'd discuss it." "Seo Jun, we can't." "I know." He paused. "But we have time to figure it out." She nodded, but standing there, looking at him in the low light of his office, she realized something terrifying. She didn't want to figure it out. She wanted it to be real. A month before the contract was set to end, everything fell apart. Hannah came home one afternoon, her face pale. "What's wrong?" Lydia asked immediately. "There are people outside my campus, reporters. They were asking about you, about Seo Jun, about whether the marriage is real." Lydia's blood ran cold. "What did you say?" "Nothing. I just left." "But Lydia, they know where I go to school. They know who I am." Seo Jun appeared in the hallway. "What happened?" Hannah explained. His face darkened. "Pack a bag," he said to Hannah. "You're staying here until this settles." "I can't just—" "Yes, you can." His voice was firm. "I'll handle it." He made 3 phone calls. By evening, security was stationed outside the university. The reporters were removed, and a very polite but very firm statement was released by Hyun Group's legal team, but the damage was done. "This is because of me," Lydia said that night. She and Seo-jun were alone in the living room. "Because I agreed to this insane plan. This is because Tae-woong is desperate. It's my fault. Lydia, I should have said no. I should have—" "Stop!" He rolled closer. "This is not your fault. Do you understand me?" She looked at him. His face was serious, determined. "I brought you into this," he said quietly. "If anyone's to blame, it's me. You gave me a choice, and you made it. And now I'm going to protect you, both of you. How? By ending this the right way." Her heart sank. "What does that mean?" "It means we go public. We tell the truth. Seo-jun, if we do that, you lose everything. Not everything. Your position, the company, your grandmother's trust. I'll figure it out." "No," she stood. "No, we're not doing that." "Then what do you suggest?" "We finish the contract. We keep going. We don't let him win." He stared at her. "You're willing to keep doing this?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I don't want it to end. Because somewhere along the way this stopped being fake. Because I think I'm falling for you, and I don't know how to stop." She didn't say any of that. Instead, she said, "Because we made a deal, and I keep my promises." Something in his expression cracked, just slightly. "Okay. Okay? We keep going." She nodded. But that night, lying in her room, she knew the truth. This wasn't about the contract anymore. This was about something much more dangerous. The next few weeks were tense. Seo-jun increased security. Hana stayed close to home, and Lydia tried to pretend everything was normal. But it wasn't, because Seo-jun started doing things he'd never done before. He asked her to have breakfast with him, not because it was part of the act, just because. He watched movies with her and Hana in the evenings. He laughed, actually laughed, at Hana's terrible jokes and Lydia's stories and the way they argued about which Korean drama was the best. One night, Hana fell asleep on the couch. Lydia covered her with a blanket. "She's happy here," Seo-jun said quietly. "She is. Are you?" Lydia looked at him. "Yes." "Good." They sat in silence. Then Seo-jun said, "I need to tell you something." Her heart skipped. "Okay. The contract ends in 3 weeks." "I know. And when it does, you're free to leave. Take the money. Start over." "I know that too." He looked at her. Really looked. "What if I don't want you to leave?" The world stopped. "What?" she whispered. "What if I asked you to stay? Not as part of a contract, not as a fake wife, just stay." "Seo-jun, I know this is complicated. I know I'm not easy. But somewhere along the way, this stopped being an arrangement." His voice was raw. "You made me laugh, Lydia. You made me feel human again. And I don't want to lose that." Tears pricked her eyes. "You're serious." "I've never been more serious." "But your grandmother, the company, everything we've built on lies. We'll tell the truth. We'll deal with the fallout. Together. Together. If you want." She didn't answer with words. She crossed the space between them and kissed him. It was soft, tentative, real. When she pulled back, he was staring at her like she'd just rewritten his entire world. "Is that a yes?" he asked. "Yes." He smiled. Fully. Completely. It was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. "Before we wrap this up, I want to hear from you one last time. What part of this story hit you the hardest? Comment below, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we've got more stories coming that you won't want to miss. They told Madame Hyeon the truth 2 days later. Sat in her estate, explained everything. The contract, the arrangement, the way it had changed. She listened without interrupting. When they finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I knew." Lydia's eyes widened. "What?" "I knew from the beginning. You think I built an empire by being naive?" She smiled. "I knew it was a contract. I also knew my grandson needed someone who wouldn't let him hide." Seo-jun looked stunned. "You knew, and you said nothing?" "Because I wanted to see if it would become real. And it did." She stood. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to get married, a real wedding this time, and you're going to stop lying to yourselves about what this is." "Grandmother." "No arguments. I've already planned the menu." Lydia laughed. She couldn't help it. Seo-jun looked at her, then at his grandmother. Then he smiled. The wedding was small, intimate, just family and close friends. Hana cried through the entire ceremony. Madame Hyun looked smug. And when Seo-jun and Lydia exchanged vows, real ones this time, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. At the reception, Hana gave a speech. "My sister once told me she took a job to help me go to university," she said. "What she didn't tell me was that she'd end up finding a family. Seo-jun, you're scary and serious, and you don't smile enough. But you love my sister, and that makes you okay in my book." The room laughed. Seo-jun stood, raised his glass. To Hana, "For reminding me that family isn't just blood," and to Lydia, "For refusing to let me disappear." They toasted. Later, when the guests had left, and it was just the two of them, Lydia and Seo-jun sat on the balcony. "So," she said, "we're really doing this. We really are. No more contracts. No more contracts." She leaned against him. "I never thought I'd end up here." "Neither did I. Do you regret it?" He looked at her. "Not for a second." She smiled. And he smiled back. 20 years, 4 months, and 16 days. That's how long Hyun Seo-jun went without smiling. But now, sitting beside the woman who'd walked into his life with too many words and not enough fear, he couldn't stop. And he didn't want to. 1 year later, Hana graduated top of her class. The whole family attended. Madame Hyun in the front row. Lydia was crying before the ceremony even started. Seo-jun was holding her hand and pretending he wasn't emotional. At dinner afterwards, Hana told a story about her first week in Seoul. She tripped over the punchline in Korean, then insisted her version made more sense anyway. Seo-jun laughed, loud, full, unguarded. The whole table stopped. Lydia grinned at him. "There he is." He squeezed her hand. "Here I am." And for the first time in 20 years, Hyun Seo-jun wasn't hiding. He was home. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking with this story. Drop a comment letting me know what you thought. And don't forget to subscribe because we've got so many more stories like this coming your way. See you in the next one.